Welcome to the Torrent This podcast with Palace of the King. Now, I am Dana, but before we get into things, I would just like to ask you all that since this show is done completely voluntarily, could you please A, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and B, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/torrentthis. The link's in the description of this video. Would really appreciate it, guys. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the Torrent This podcast with Palace of the King.
Hey, this is Matt from Palace of the King. You're listening to Torrent This with Dando.
It's the Torrent This podcast. I am Dando. Now today I'm lucky to be joined by a member of a band who, after releasing an EP last year and supporting Airborne on their national tour, they're now set to launch their new EP at Moon and Mountain with a gig at Cherry Bar this Saturday night, February 1st. They are, of course, Palace of the King, and I am lucky to be joined by Matty Harrison. Matt, how are we, dude?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having us.
No worries, dude. How was the photo shoot?
It was really good. It was interesting. We basically loaded the cars full of every piece of gear that we had and tried to represent the band along those lines in terms of us, being a rock and roll band and having walls of amps and guitars and all that sort of stuff. So we got a few funny looks from construction workers who were, doing some work on Flinders Lane.
They yell shit out, or?
They didn't actually. There was a few people who sort of, I think a few of them might have stuck their heads into some of the shots, so that'll be interesting on the editing table. But,
Yeah.
No, it was really good. Good fun for a Wednesday morning, bright and early at 9 o'clock.
Oh, I start at 7, so you can't complain.
Yeah, I won't bother complaining then.
Yes. Did Gilps keep his hair under control?
He wasn't there actually.
Oh, okay.
It was only a few of us who made it. We were thinking of getting a cutout, life-size cardboard, life-size cutout of Gilts, but we didn't get that sorted in time. Unfortunately, that would have been good. But no doubt he would not have been under control had he been there.
I'm sure that cardboard cutout was his idea.
Yeah, exactly. just so we can, snuggle up to it at night, things like that. Just in his absence, whenever he can't make it.
I know I would do that for sure. So where's this photo going to be? It's on the front cover of his MX. Is that what it's going to be on?
MX, yeah. So look, I haven't caught public transport for quite a few years, so I haven't seen an MX in person for quite some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there might be a bit of circulation around the CBD and hopefully a bit more exposure before we launch on Saturday.
Is it front cover? Did I read correctly?
I believe so, yeah.
That's cool.
I guess that's the plan, unless they hate the look of us or something like that.
Yeah.
Bunch of rowdy long hairs with walls of amps on the front of the MX.
You would have made the front if you had the cardboard cut out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, we've only got ourselves to blame if that's the case.
What's been happening anyway? Did you have a big Australia Day?
I personally was down in Portsea. I think a couple of members had gigs all over the place, so I spent the weekend, let alone Australia Day, just basking in the sun, having some, I'll call them pre-season drinks in anticipation of Saturday, just practicing for the big night that will be coming up this coming weekend.
Yes, and you were telling me just off the air you've been practicing today for it.
That's it. Just trying to squeeze in some last-minute rehearsals. We've got a few surprises up our sleeve for Saturday. Just a few little bits and pieces, and bits of production, and a couple of new songs and things like that we haven't actually played before. So
Cool.
We're not the hardest rehearsing band at the best of times, given that we often play so many gigs that we use gigs as rehearsal and just rehearse along that.
That sounds like a good way to do it.
That path, but we thought we might try and squeeze in a couple, given that it's our night, our launch, and we're trying some new things. So we might just confirm that they will actually work before unleashing it on Saturday night.
Well, you're already streaming the entire EP for free. Do you think this attracts more fans by letting them hear the music before they buy it?
I hope so. I'm probably the wrong type of music appreciator to ask with regards to that. I still prefer full-length albums over any format. I prefer vinyl over any format. And I'm not the biggest fan of the digital downloads and streaming and all that sort of stuff. But, if for nothing else, it's been good to get it out there and hopefully get a bit of exposure and get people familiar with the songs before Saturday night, so we, hopefully have some people joining in on some of the choruses and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it has been good. We've been, on the PR trail for the last few weeks and have been here, there and everywhere in print, so it's been working okay, seemingly.
The EP's coming out on vinyl too, isn't it?
So it has been released digitally. The physical limited edition CD copies will be available from Saturday night onwards until they sell out.
Yep.
And then in early April, I think we're sort of heading for. We have actually just sent off for pressing a full-length vinyl LP, which again will be limited edition, and that'll actually be the sort of a best of the 2 EPs released to date. So
get your money's worth.
We basically just put the best tracks from those EPs onto the vinyl, which given the length of some of the songs on the EPs, we were only able to actually fit 7 on there. And I think we've previously said that the new EP itself, 30 or 40 years ago, would have been considered a full length based on time alone.
I was going to say that.
Tracks, so. So that's the story and basically the release schedule for the next few months.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you got tracks on like the new EP that go for like longer than 9 minutes, is that just the beauty of releasing it independently?
Yeah, absolutely. With the first EP that we recorded, that we released in May of last year, we were consciously sort of placing boundaries on what we were doing, and we were trying to, we deliberately put together our 5 most accessible songs that and toned down the weirder jammed moments, things like that. And then when we went in to record the second EP, which was only a few months after releasing the first one, we had done a lot more touring. We're just a better band as a result, and just were comfortable in our own skin to take away those boundaries and explore the improvised, jammy, psychedelic moments of the band that have always been part of our live set, but obviously weren't a part of the recorded versions on the first EP.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. We're in the studio, just having the time of our lives, adding parts, just playing songs based on the interaction between musicians, because we record them all live. And even the 9-minute song "Howlin'" that you are referring to, that was at no point prior to recording it was it ever 9 minutes long. It just, it was just feeling good in the studio and cooking along, and we kept playing, and then by the time we played it back, we realised how long it was. So, I guess the good thing about that is that there was no one at any point along the line prior to releasing to tell us that it was too long. And it's, one of our favourite songs to play live, just because it has that sort of, 4-minute guitar solo in the middle section, and Lee can go nuts in a live setting.
Yeah. Well, was it like one of those moments when you first saw the length of the last track, How? Was it like, okay, we need to somehow shorten this, or was it like, fuck it, let's just leave it?
No, absolutely. It was just a case of, awesome, let's leave it as it is. We were going to, at the start of the song, there's about 20 or 30 seconds of Lee and Gilps just messing around with their delay pedals and getting some crazy sort of feedback, self-oscillating sounds. It's hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
So, we could have cut that if we were worried about the length of the song, but it just worked as a 9-minute sort of epic closer to the EP. From the time we heard it back, we felt as though it was the final track on the record, and that in terms of arguing over track list was just a foregone conclusion from the word go, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you brought that up before, because like when I go to a gig, it's quite often that the band seem to be enjoying themselves the most when they're just fucking around and just jamming together. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's something we always play on in a live setting, especially. Of the 100 gigs or more that we did in 2013, we probably played all of the songs 100 different ways through those 100 shows. There's sections that we extend an intro, an outro, middle section, just depending on the vibe, the crowd, all that sort of stuff. So we love it, and that's why we do it. It's great.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I know that you and Lee, you've played together for years, but you've kind of like just poached musos from other bands and made somewhat of a supergroup, haven't you?
Yeah, we'll call it a super group. We just went fishing through the bait out there, and just reeled in whoever took the bait. So, yeah, absolutely. Like, Lee and I have been playing together for years. We've known each other for years, way back from when we were at school. And to each of us, we just sort of feel like an extension of the other person. That we'd feel weird playing in a band without the other. And then, yeah, we obviously just gradually put together this band over the course of a couple of months in mid 2012, and wrote some songs together. It all felt good, and just basically got straight onto a stage and have been playing live shows non-stop since.
Do those guys consider Palace of the King as their main band now as well?
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat, and that's the great thing from everyone's point of view of in what we're doing. In terms of each individual member's commitment to the band, it's unwavering, and everyone's on the same page. And that's the only reason that we have been able to do as many gigs as we did over the last 12 months, and tour as many places as we toured. We were living out of each other's pockets, and we wouldn't be doing the hard yards if it wasn't everyone's main priority, and if everyone didn't have the common goal of touring it until it becomes something that is potentially the breadwinner for everyone in the band.
Yeah. And when can we expect this album that you're working on, by the way, before I let you go?
Look, it's probably we've obviously got the EP launch next week, and then the thing about it is, it sounds ridiculous to say that we're already writing an album prior to launching an EP that's still not even officially released.
Yeah.
But that's just our mentality. We don't see any reason why a band in this day and age can't release an album a year like was done 30 or 40 years ago. I'm of the belief it should be easier to release an album every year.
Yeah.
This day and age, because it's so easy to record now, with various techniques available at anyone's disposal at their home or
apps and shit.
Any basic studio. So, we'll get the EP launched. We'll get the vinyl out, which it's going to be a really cool package. But in reality, it's nothing new, because it will be, as I said, a best of the first two EPs, which are already out.
But it's vinyl, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. So we've got that coming out, and I would say by that stage, which, as I said, that's probably going to be sort of early April that comes out, we will have completed the writing process to a certain extent of the for the full-length album, and then I'm sure around about April, May, we'll be looking to jump into a studio. And the way we go about it isn't to sit in the studio for 2 months at a time and labour over these orchestral masterpieces. We'll get in there for a weekend and punch it out in a couple of days and just come up with the best, most live-sounding album that we can come up with. And that's certainly something that we'll be getting out. I would say in the second half of this year, hopefully around about August, September.
That's awesome, man. Area. You guys are just pumping them out.
Yeah, that's the intention. We want to keep going, so at this rate, we'll have the second album written by the time the first album.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Is there anything else you want to tell us, the listeners, before I let you go?
Only that the EP launch for the second EP, Palace of the King 2, Moon and Mountain, is this coming Saturday, the 1st of February, at Cherry Bar in Melbourne. The world-famous Cherry Bar, who, various big day out bands basically lived out of last week while that sort of circuit was in town.
Yeah.
And we will be supported by Smokestack Rhino and Mayfield, some good friends of ours. $13 at the door. It's going to be super hot, but it's there's no better way to experience live rock and roll than in that sort of setting. Yeah,
that's it. Well, you have it, guys. As Matt just said, make sure you get to Palace of the King's new EP launch, Moon and Mountain. Check them out. It's at the Cherry Bar this Saturday, February 1st. And for the latest news and info, like them on Facebook, facebook.com/Palace of the King Music. Once again, sir, thanks for your time. I really do appreciate it. And good luck with the launch, dude.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, man. Catch ya.